Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, if I may just take you back to the question of the herdsmen, because we've spoken to some other members in the House now, National Assembly from the North, and they said, look, this challenge, they themselves are also exposed to this, and they all want a solution to this matter. And I think now there's a grazing bill, which is being considered. But then if, because whatever the president does or doesn't do, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. And looking at how it's playing itself out, is it just resting at the table of the president, or the National Assembly have a role to play here? Because if that bill, and even state governors, so shouldn't we just look at how they all have responded to it rather than just that of Mr. President, because he can't lord his views over those independent arms of government?
What has the government proposed? What is the initiative of the government? I mean, the buck stops with the government. President Buhari is the president. So even if the National Assembly is going to address something, he has to present the initiative. Look, this is the worst government in the history of Nigeria.
On what basis? Why do you say that?
On all grounds. They have failed in everything. They have failed. All the promises they made to get to power, they have reneged on them. They have not achieved anything, as far as I'm concerned.
Don't you see any successes in the fight against corruption? Did you know that those kind of monies were exchanging hands at the time?
Well, you know, the fight against corruption, the problem I have with the fight against corruption is that the PDP was not the only government in Nigeria. Please, the APC was in power for 16 years in Lagos. Well, why are they not, why is it, you know, I mean, if you want to fight against corruption, if you want to, he that comes to equity must come with clean hands. You must fight it in a way that we understand that it is corruption that you are interested in. I don't get that impression. I see corruption, people who have been stealing our monies must be prosecuted. No question about that. You ask any Nigerian, they will tell you about that. But I don't think that the objective, the way it's being prosecuted, is to fight corruption.
But did you ever think that
I think it is to fight the opposition.
Did you think that there was corruption in the last administration?
The last administration was steeped in corruption. There's corruption everywhere.
Did you ever criticize?
But it wasn't, you know, please, I want to know what's happening in Lagos.
Did you criticize that?
Pardon?
The corruption that was...
I wrote against corruption under Jonathan.
Was anything done about it?
Pardon?
Was anything done about it?
Was anything done about it?
Yes.
Well, they had, number one, it was the PDP that gave us the FCC. Mm-hmm. It was the PDP that gave us ICPC. Mm-hmm. So the whole concept of fighting corruption was a PDP initiative. Let's look at the different ways that the PDP fought corruption. They fought corruption in the agriculture so that middlemen were completely removed and fertilizers went directly to the people. They fought corruption by removing ghost workers. The integrated payroll system is a PDP creation. The TSA is a PDP creation. In fact, I don't know of any instrument of corruption that the government is using now that was introduced by this
People acknowledge that the TSA was indeed muted by the last administration, but was only implemented in this administration.
Yes, and it was implemented at the wrong time.
Why do you think that was so?
You know, it was because, you know, you don't only have an idea. You have to know when to implement it. Now, you don't implement the TSA at a time when Nigeria is short of funds. And so what you have now is that the banks are people are being fired in the banks because you have taken the little money that is left, you have taken it out of the system into the central bank. It doesn't make sense. You don't introduce it now. So that even the best ideas have a timing. Look at what we've done, what the government has done with the exchange rate. When it was necessary for them to devalue, they didn't. Wasted so much time defending an unrealistic...
When it was necessary for them, shouldn't we have done this a while back when we had healthier forex bases?
When we had healthier forex bases, there was no basis for devaluation. We didn't need to devalue. The exchange rate moved under Jonathan. The president said it was terrible that we should have 230. Well, you know, if it was terrible that we should have that, the black market should be going at 230. But what do we say about now? if it's at 400.
But you know, in spite of all of those that you say the PDP government gave us at the time, instruments to fight corruption, but if you look at what happened then, in terms of the kind of success they recorded at the time, and now, in terms of the kinds of monies people are volunteering to return to the system, and the president's resolve saying, look, nobody will stand in his way about that, shouldn't we get some sort of, you know, encouragement that, look, he's a man, because even the PDP, some members have been here, said, look, we give it to him. He's a man of integrity. He means well. Shouldn't we then say that, yeah, we should be encouraged by his stance, and we all know that if you intend to do business in this country, you should know that, look, if you plan to frustrate anyone by taking bribes, think again.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm not encouraged. Let me tell you why I'm not
by
encouraged.
His integrity or his stance or his approach?
I'm not encouraged by his integrity. He was chairman of PTF, 25 billion disappeared, according to the Harun Adamu probe panel. 500 million disappeared in the bank under his watch. He told us that Buhari never stole.
You think he took it?
Pardon?
Do you think he took it?
Under his watch. 25.7 billion naira disappeared under the president's watch.
Because you just ended that with, he said he never stole.
He said Abacha never stole. But now he is trying to recover Abacha's money. You understand? Now what I get from this is that there's a convenience analysis to the president's integrity. There are people who stole money that are not PDP people. Most of the PDP thieves are now in APC anyway. Once they join APC, they are no longer thieves. That is not a sign of integrity.
Don't you think it's a question of time? That definitely the searchlight will fall on those people in a question of time.
Why not do it, you know, all together so that we know? Why not do it? The Secretary of the Government says that APC people never stole. Didn't you hear his statement? They're not going to probe APC people. Why not?
Are we sure people are submitting petitions to the EFCC about those members? Because even in the president's chat...
They only submit about the...
No, but in his chat, he also said, look, let them name one member in his cabinet who has been so accused, or submit any document.
They have named,
and he will
they
go
have
after
named
the
several. They have named
submitted petitions? Have they submitted
nothing has happened.
Did the EFCC confirm that they received petitions from people about that?
So it is only PDP people that they are raising petitions about.
No, we're going back.
Come on, let us be realistic. Look, there was widespread corruption. We have been very, very corrupt people. The PDP has been steeped in corruption. But please, and then we've had all kinds of cases now where we've discovered that a lot of public funds were used to fight elections. PDP used public funds to fight elections. I want to know, where did they get the money? APC get the money to fight the elections. Where did they get the money? There was a challenge that was made by people in Ekiti that under Fayemi, 1.5 billion was donated to Buhari's campaign fund.
1.5 billion?
1.5 billion naira was donated to Buhari's campaign fund, according to the Ekiti government. Why is it that only one? So I'm saying that the corruption element...
How is that feasible, though? I mean, because he wasn't running for office at the time that the former governor was defeated.
Let us find out.
Let's get your thoughts on this developments within the Senate, the ongoing trial of Senate leadership. Do you think people are rightly or wrongly accusing the presidency?
They are not wrongly accusing the presidency. They are rightly accusing the presidency. The president is fighting on too many fronts.
But if they've got a case...
It's fighting on too many fronts.
If the matter is in court, why blame the president?
In the end, they're going to have to work with some people. If he has legislation, which I haven't seen, because I think that they didn't know they were going to win. If he has a program, they're going to pass it through the Senate.
Do you think it's easy leading this country?
I would never want to be president of Nigeria. I mean, I don't think it is easy. But I didn't ask to be president 4 times. Buhari asked to be president 4 times, and when he finally got there, we discovered that he just wanted to be president because he doesn't have a program. He doesn't have a project. He's got ministers who are they're unimpressive.
Do you think that the PDP, though, should take responsibility for where we found ourselves economically?
Of course. Of course they must take responsibility for it. But I'm saying that the PDP was not the only government because we operate a federal system. And so we must look at the totality of it.
If they must, do you think that then they can criticize, where it is that we found ourselves, economically speaking?
Of course they can, because, the PDP too can claim to have reformed itself. In fact, they can claim that they have shared some of their bad eggs to the APC.
Mr. Femi Aribisala is the author, public commentator, and policy analyst. We appreciate your comment on this morning.
Thank you very much for
Well, that's where we also draw the curtains today on the program. We thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. And happy holiday as well. I'm Chamberlain, Uso.
Well, I sincerely hope it's a happy one for everyone.
They have one more day. Oh, we have one more. Do we? No, we don't. We're always working.
Well, we're here for you. Thank you so much. I'm Maokwe Ogun.
Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede. See you again.
I hope we've all heard what Mr. Femi said. If only Nigeria can really take their time to think about what this man said, to think about the leaders of Nigeria. Beloved Nigerian youth, if you take a good look at Nigeria, it's the only place that after they rule, Nigeria is the only place they jump from party to party. And why are they doing all these things? If they finish in PDP, they want to avoid prison, they want to avoid being sentenced to prison, they will jump to the next winning party. It is not done like this in other countries. These are ways of deceiving us. These are methods of deceiving us. All of them know what they are doing. And the most painful part of it is that these people travel to Western world. They see the way things are done. They see the way things are being carried out. But they don't implement these laws there. They come to Western world to see things for themselves. But all they do is the way they can continue to manipulate the country Nigeria. In a way, they want to continue to ride Nigerian. If they ruled in PDP, they see that they have done all that they're not supposed to do. They have taken all the money. The next thing, if APC is the one winning, they quickly run to APC in order to avoid prison, in order to avoid not to go prison. We love Nigeria. These are things that Nigeria need to take into consideration right now. Nigeria is the only place where one man will jump from PDP to APC, APC to ACN, ACN to the only God knows the next one they're going to form now. And come to think of it, I know that you guys are saying this thing. They are all the same set of people who are jumping from one party to another to tell you that what they want, if they don't get it, they are not going to rest. And the thing is that the money they spend when they were losing, the money they spend in other parties when they come, the money is what the first of four wants to recover. They want to steal whatever that is stealable. Listen to what Mr. Femi said very well, which is the real fact. Buhari has failed. That is what he said. Buhari has not done anything. He said it's not for everybody. It is for everybody. But everybody is complaining. Even the non-planners are complaining. Who are you? What are you for? Who are you for? You're for nobody. You're standing there like a statue. It's just nothing is moving. Everything is stagnant in Nigeria. Just imagine they're recovering Nigerians' money. Some set of people is still borrowing money. They tell you they don't have good plans for that country. Now, he wants to use this time to borrow money so that the next coming president will use the entire time to look for how to pay debt. This is a big problem to Nigeria. We might be looking at it small, but it's a big problem. A very big one to Nigeria. We need to start talking to these people. We need to start standing our ground for these people to know that yes, the time has come. Please, Nigerian youth, let us wake up. I will keep saying we need to wake up. These people are not ready to use their head. We need to press the button according to Bobby. We need to press their move button.